Blog Talk Radio.
I never said nothing to that. Look out! Be on fire, man!
Hey, what's up, everybody? You're listening to episode 1 of the Loaded Gloves Boxing Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Jarvis, and here with me as my co-host is Victor Atkinson. How's it going, Victor?
All right, man. Got an exciting week of boxing to look forward to. Something just went past.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty big. Actually, a lot of news this week to cover. Real quick, we were supposed to start the show today at 11 o'clock, but I picked up a new PC because my old one died, and I couldn't get my soundboard to work correctly, so the show had a false start at 11, and then I just switched over to my phone to call in through Blog Talk rather than fart around with a board anymore. So if you're just joining us, you can call in. We'll be taking calls in about 20 minutes or so. You can call. That number is 657-383-0391. Again, it's 657-383-0391, and I'll be taking your calls in about 15-20 minutes or so. So let's get started, Victor. I want to start with a fight review and talk about last night's fights for a bit. Starting with the Demetrius Andrade versus Alantez Fox fight, and that was I think it was on Andrade's, not Andrade, Andrade's debut at middleweight. Yep. What did you think of that fight?
He looked pretty much how I expected him to look. He's not a guy that has a lot of power at all. Yeah. I had a feeling this fight was going to go 12 rounds, and he's a guy. The best thing about him is really his defense and his movement. So if you have an opponent that doesn't really want to do much of anything, he himself is not going to look that spectacular. But really, the copy box stats said that Fox only landed, 52 punches throughout 12 rounds or something like that. So that's pretty fucking good for Andrade.
Now, what do you think? I actually heard, or I saw some people on Twitter comparing Demetrius Andrade to Erislandy Lara.
No. Lara is very, very boring. He's not active at all. Andrade will at least try to force the fight at times. He's not a guy that I hate to watch. Lara boxes, and I don't want to see him box at all, just ever. He bores me. I've never had that problem with Andrade.
You want to turn that shit off and go do something else.
Yeah.
No, I think they were, when they were comparing the two fighters, I think it was their inactivity and kind of their, they prefer to move rather than engage most of the time. But I'd rather watch Andrade on his worst day than Erislandy Lara on his best. So I saw the fight late. I didn't get to watch it live. All the HBO feeds went down. So I caught it really late last night or early this morning. It was a pretty boring fight. I don't know. What do you make of HBO's narrative that says Demetrius Andrade is quote unquote arrived at 160 and is now a player in the division?
Yeah, a match like that. 160 is not a weak division. People say that it is, but it's really not. You have Murata, you have Lemieux. Saunders looks bad, but at least he has a belt. You can talk about him because of that. You've got Darian Vinchenko is solid. People are hyping Jacobs right now. Then you have Golovkin, Canelo, Jamal Charlo. It's not a division where you can have a performance like that and you're instantly in the top 3 or whatever. It's not. No. He has to fight to be good and look impressive.
Right, and I kind of view it the same way, but I'd also add to that if Andrade had been a unified or even an undisputed champ at junior middleweight and then moved up and dominated like he did last night, that would be we'd be talking about, hey, when is this guy going to get a shot at or is he getting a shot at the winner of Golovkin Canelo 2 next September? But yeah, you're right. He's done nothing for how long, and he's beat who, and then, he has one fight at middleweight, and all of a sudden everybody's, that network at least is pushing that narrative or starting to. So I don't get it. but that's kind of, I guess that's kind of par for the course for especially for HBO. Now, do you think Andrade's performance last night was affected at all by his inactivity, his long layoff?
Yeah, he also said his leg was cramping up towards the end of the fight.
Right.
And then you also have to factor in just his opponent did. Once his opponent felt the power, once Fox felt the power in like the first round, he kind of went into full retreat, which is interesting because Andrade is not that hard of a puncher.
Right.
But Fox was injured,
Okay.
and Fox is also not good himself. So.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, coming off a long layoff, I mean, no fighter is going to want to go in against, the top guys in the division. But I thought Alantez Fox was kind of a, I hate to say, I don't believe in calling fighters bums per se. Just because,
it's a showcase.
It's worse than that. You know what I mean? It's a level below that, in my opinion. But I mean, if a guy's really good when they come back off a layoff, they usually, I mean, they all kind of fight stiffs, but they're usually a level above what Fox is at. But I don't know. I guess I shouldn't expect too much more from somebody who's remained inactive throughout most of his prime.
Yeah. I will say this about Andrade, though. His win over Kolke is looking pretty good right now, since a lot of people think that Kolke just beat Selecki. And Selecki is not bad at 154 at all, so that's a better performance than this one right here.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. Where do you think he goes next?
Andrade is going to have to... He called out Lemieux, actually. So, yeah... That fight may actually happen. I don't think Lemieux's going to duck him. I think Andrade actually really wants the fight. And then you have the Charlo versus Andrade fight. People want to see that one against either one of the twin brothers. They fight in the same division now. That's a good fight to make. So, yeah,
that would be, either one of those guys would be good. Yeah, I personally think Andrade will just kind of, I mean, he'll step it up. I think the next guy he fights will be better than Alantez Fox, but I don't think it's going to be Lemieux, and I don't think it's going to be either Charlo brother. I think he'll kind of stick to C-level guys, at least for the next two fights or so. I don't know. I just call me crazy or call me cynical. I don't see a special fighter in Andrade, and I don't see even a very good fighter. I just see a slightly better than average guy that moves and can punch a bit. I don't know. I don't know what his people are going to do with him, but I definitely don't think it'll be the division's top talent for a while at least.
I think towards the end of 2018, assuming he stays active, which is that's a big if considering Andrade. But I think I think he's going to end up fighting someone like Hugo Centeno first, the guy that just knocked out Alim. And then step up to one of the top guys afterwards. Okay.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad fight. It'd be better than Fox.
Yeah. So, like if I was the guy that managed Andrade, that would be what I was trying to make first. Just have him up against a solid B or, like you said, C-level guy. Just nobody top yet. See how he does there, and then push him up.
Yeah, and I think they'll keep him away from really heavy punchers for a while too. That kind of surprises me that he called out Lemieux because Lemieux's not the greatest technician, but
I kind of get it, though. I imagine he's thinking he can just exploit a lot of Lemieux's flaws. People see him just as like a raging bull a lot of the time, and Andrade, he has decent movement, so I can imagine that. But Andrade doesn't have the best balance either. He could definitely get caught by something. Lemieux's a lot faster than people give him credit for.
Yeah, I was gonna say he is kind of a a head down kind of bull forward type of guy, but like he's not completely devoid of boxing skill. I've seen the guy box.
Right. Yeah.
We all have. He's not in the same class as obviously like a Golovkin or I don't think he's quite the boxer Canelo is either, but in terms of fundamentals, but the guy's got some skill. He's not a James Kirkland or Alfredo Angulo. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where he goes next. But I think even more interesting than that, it'll will be how hard HBO pushes this guy.
Yeah.
Like, how much they try to sell him or shove him down our throats and sell him as, the guy that's going to dethrone Golovkin or Canelo, in 2020 or something like that. So, you know what I mean? But, yeah. Well, let's move on because I didn't really enjoy that fight too much, and I'm not a huge Andrade supporter or fan. I just kind of think he's an average, slightly above average guy. What did you think of the Jezreel Corrales and Albert Machado fight that was for the WBA junior lightweight title last night?
Man, why is everybody at 130 missing weight? Gervonta Davis, Corrales, God. Corrales is a guy
the better question?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the better question, Victor, would be why is everybody in boxing missing weight these days?
Yeah.
Does it have anything to do with cycling off certain substances, or are they just lazy and partying all the time? What is it? You know what I mean?
Corrales, I think his problem is just maybe he's not as dedicated as he should be. That's just a guess, though.
Yeah,
but
that could be. He's kind of got that attitude. Well, isn't he with Mayweather? Mayweather Promotions?
I believe so.
Yeah, to me, that tells the entire story right there. You're probably right. I mean, I don't mean to really disparage the guy, but he kind of reminds me of, not in terms of fighting or ability or fundamentals or style, but as personality-wise, kind of reminds me a lot of Adrian Broner. They kind of hang with the same crowd, do the same things. I don't know how much Corrales takes care of himself in between fights, whether he's a gym rat or whether he goes out like Chavez Jr. and has, double and triple burgers every night. I know, who's to say, but yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I think he definitely needs to move up in weight, but that would help. But then again, if he is just lazy or if he's not real dedicated to his craft, then
right, it wouldn't even matter.
Might just give him more of an excuse to eat more and do less in the gym. So who's to say? I mean, we're just observers of the sport. We can't really comment on what we don't know. But what did you think of the fight?
Corrales looked pretty good for himself in the first, 6 or 7 rounds, and then he just got caught by something. He's not defensively responsible. I've been saying this about him for a while. He's going to get caught at some point because he just does not care about protecting himself.
Right. No, I agree with that. 100%. I thought I picked, obviously, Corrales like I think everyone else did to win the fight. I thought he just kind of outmove and outbox Machado, but yeah, I mean that's boxing for you. That one punch, it's kind of like who was it on Twitter? It may have been Steve Kim. Said Machado had his Andy Lee moment last night.
Yeah,
I thought that was
saw that one.
The perfect way to describe the fight. Yeah, because he was outgunned and outmatched and being outskilled, and then that just that one punch, man, changes everything. So. Yeah, I mean, what do you think of Corrales in general, like as a fighter, or where do you think his ceiling is at?
He's never actually impressed me before. I think this is basically as good as he's going to get. He's not a guy. Okay, because he held a WBA, people like to talk about how he should fight Lomachenko for some goddamn reason. Like, no, there's completely different levels there.
Right. Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I make no bones about saying that I'm not a fan of pure boxers. Like, I couldn't stand Pernell Whitaker. I'm having a brain fart right now. I can't remember the other guy, the guy that was super fast. For whatever reason, I can't remember his name. Like guys like Mayweather, stuff like that shit drives me nuts. And Corrales reminds me. I thought of him kind of as the next Paulie Malignaggi. He doesn't have a lot of power. He's got a good skill set, but like Paulie, he's not at that elite level. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he can't punch. So I saw a lot of parallels, like especially watching last night. Their styles are completely different. I mean, Paulie backs up, whereas Corrales kind of comes forward a lot more than Paulie ever did or does. But in terms of skill and kind of the way that Corrales is being promoted or pushed, onto all of us. It reminds me a lot of Paulie in that regard. I don't know. Getting caught like that by Machado, I don't know. Where do you think Corrales goes next?
Fucks his career up. He's not going to go very far.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what matchup I would have for him next, honestly. He would have to just be like a stepping stone for someone.
Right. Do you think it's like back to the drawing board completely, or
yeah.
do you think he'll just take a year off and come back as the exact same fighter we saw last night?
Yeah, if that happens, if he takes a year off, he's going to be the exact same thing. This is what Corrales is.
Yeah.
He's not far. Machado, though, people are saying that he should fight the winner of Salido Berchelt or Lomachenko even, or Gervonta Davis. I don't really like any of those fights for him, except for Davis. Davis is better than he is, but that's a winnable fight for Machado.
Mm-hmm.
What I would rather have Machado do, though, is have him fight the winner of Tevin Farmer and whoever he fights. I forgot what fight that is, but it's for the belt that Davis just had to drop because he missed weight.
Oh, okay.
I think he can actually
another guy missing weight.
Yeah. I think Machado can actually catch Farmer at some point. Tevin Farmer's a much, much better boxer than he is, but Farmer does have a suspect chin, so that's one of the fights for a title that he could actually end up winning.
Right. No, I think that'd be a good idea. Uh-huh.
But that's about it. Anything else from him is either a pointless fight or a loss.
Yeah, Machado is. I draw a lot of parallels. You know, I see he's just kind of that come forward, you know, straight up and down, like no frills Mexican fighter. Like lots of heart. He's got some respectable pop in his hands, but that's kind of it. That's where his ceiling is.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind watching him fight Gervonta Davis, even though I would totally pick Davis to probably stop him around like mid-fight. But I think it would be a fun fight while it lasts.
It would. Actually, has Davis faced anybody that can really punch?
You know what? That's a good question. While we're talking, I'll pull it up. Because, let me see, Gervonta Davis. I should have all this open already, but it's been kind of a clusterfucked morning. Let me look at. I got his. Let's see, Francisco Fonseca, Liam Walsh, Jose Pedraza, Mario Antonio Macias, Guillermo Avila, Luis Sanchez, Cristobal Cruz, Recky Delay, Alberto Mora, and the list goes on and on, full of people. Most people haven't ever heard of. Not really any big like murderous punchers. There's some guys with some okay power in there, but I mean, God, even when you go back to Marco Antonio Macias, his record is 28-18-0. So, you know, what does that tell you about Tank? You know.
Interesting.
So yeah.
And
I
Davis
think
doesn't have good stamina either.
No, he does. Yeah, he does kind of gas. It'll be interesting to see how that tank or how Gervonta's tank holds up, gas tank holds up, not only in a fight against somebody with the pressure of Machado, but somebody that can hit like he can. That raises a lot of question marks for me, but I don't see the fight happening. I don't think Davis's people are gonna put him in there with someone like that. Just because there's always that chance that he gets caught like Corrales did.
Yeah.
And isn't Tank Davis with Mayweather Promotions as well?
He is.
Yeah. So with that kind of you know, he's probably got the same kind of career trajectory that Floyd had or that Andre Ward had. You know, where you just kind of pick and choose your spots and you know, look the other way when the dangerous guys come around. So, yeah, hard to say where he goes. I think Corrales probably takes at least 6, 7, 8 months off, if not longer. And I think Machado probably sits out until late spring. And I have no idea who they're going to put him in with.
Just going to have to watch the landscape and hope for the best with him.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think the Berchelt Salido winner would be good for Machado at all.
Oh, it'd be terrible
I
for him.
agree
He
with
would
you
get
on
his ass
that.
kicked.
Yeah, he's going to get flattened, even by a faded Salido if he happens to win. So let's move on, though. Last night we also saw
The Cruiserweights
Murat Gassiev versus Krzysztof, and I cannot pronounce that guy's last name.
Oh, neither can I, man. Wlodarczyk?
Yeah, it's like Wlodarczyk or something like that. The guy's from Poland, but it was for Gassiev's IBF Cruiserweight title, and it was part of the quarterfinals in the World Boxing Super Series tournament that Dick Schaefer has going on. What were your thoughts on the fight?
Krzysztof was terrified of Gassiev from the opening bell. He didn't land anything at all in the first round, if I recall correctly. I think he threw like 7 punches or something very small like that, landed nothing. Gassiev landed like 3, but it was not very active in the first 2 rounds. And then Gassiev, I knew he was going to stop him with the body shot. Gassiev is just a monstrous puncher.
Yeah, I think he hits harder than his KO percentage indicates.
He does.
Yeah, for sure.
It's absurd how hard he hits. I mean, how tough is Lebedev to be able to get up from that, though? Because he hit Lebedev with the exact same shot to drop him, and Lebedev somehow, I don't know how the fuck he did it, but was able to get up and finish the fight, went all 12 rounds.
Well, I even that version of Lebedev, I think is a tougher out than the opponent he had last night. Yeah, for sure. But I thought going in that Gassiev would stop Krzysztof late around 9 or 10.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was going to be like 9 rounds, and he did it in 3.
Yeah, and you know what I really liked? What I liked about it most was Gassiev was in control throughout the entire fight, all the way up until the knockout. But
very composed.
That knockout came so fast. And was like, it wasn't a headshot, but so it didn't look as violent as it probably felt. But he put him down with like that classic
uppercut,
triple G, like uppercut hook to the body. That liver shot. You know what I mean? Just pop and then Krzysztof just dropped, and like I knew right away that he wasn't getting up. It was pretty clear. But
same. It was very obvious. I was actually more impressed with Gassiev last night than I thought I would be, because I thought he'd stop Krzysztof late, and I thought it would be a good fight, but I didn't think it would be quite that exciting or end that exciting. I liked Gassiev's. He kind of had that controlled or measured aggression. He was really patient in there, and he looked relaxed. And he constantly pushed the action and came forward. And now as far as Krzysztof, I thought, like you said, he was afraid of Gassiev from the opening bell. I've only seen a couple of his other fights, and he does fight a lot off the back foot, but he did that even more last night. Yeah, he's more of a mover, but lands counters at the same time. He's kind of a slick guy for cruiserweight.
Yeah.
He's
now,
old,
do you think
been in a lot of fights?
Yeah, he's been around a long time, been in some wars. But do you think that, do you think he couldn't pull the trigger last night, or do you just think he was being cautious because he knew what was coming at him?
I think it was a mixture of both. I think his age, his reflexes are not as good as they used to be, but also he's very wary of Gassiev. So if there was an opening, he probably wasn't going to be able to react quick enough to take it, but he was afraid too.
Right. Yeah, I kind of thought it was more of like wear and tear and age for Krzysztof, but I definitely agree that he was tentative, extra tentative, because he was afraid of what Gassiev was going to throw back at him. And by the way it ended, he was right to feel that way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Now, what do you think? I kind of want to touch on it real quick. What do you think of the semifinal match between Gassiev and Dorticos?
And Dorticos? Yeah, Dorticos.
Yeah, or Dorticos.
Okay. Yeah. I love Gassiev's controlled aggression here. He's way too composed. Dorticos, a lot of times when he's going for something, he'll be very open to it. He's a very open guy. Like, even when he knocked up Krzysztof, he mouth wide open, hands one hand very, very low. asking to get knocked out. I think Gassiev can take a punch like that, and he's going to be just so aware of everything that he's going to be able to catch him.
Okay. I watched prior to the Dorticos fight that he had last time against Krzysztof. I'd watched like 2 or 3 highlight reels of him on YouTube, and I hadn't noticed what you just mentioned, but thinking back, like just watching what he did to Krzysztof, he is kind of there to be hit. I noticed him leaning in a little bit when he throws bombs, and I definitely think Gassiev could capitalize on that if he remains as patient as he did against Krzysztof. I think he'll do what all guys like that, like the Triple G's and even the Tysons and stuff did back in their day, when they're in with a higher quality of opponent, where they won't be as aggressive. They'll be a little bit more measured and a little bit more reserved, just because they don't want to, that all it takes is one shot from someone like Dorticos to end everything for him. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, I couldn't find out when that fight is actually going down. I know it's either January or February. Have you heard anything about that?
As far as I know, the date is pretty tentative right now because it's a tournament, and they couldn't really decide when it was going to happen without having the Gassiev fight happen in the first place. Because let's say that this fight went 12 rounds or whatever, and Gassiev got kind of busted up. They have to push back the fight, so I don't think they have a set date yet. We're probably going to find something out in the next week or so.
Okay. Well, yeah, that'd be cool because I know I'm looking forward to that fight much more than I am the Usyk-Briedis fight. I think that's going to be kind of an ugly fight.
It is. Briedis is not really an exciting fighter. Usyk should tool him, though, and stop him by the 10th round, if it even takes that long.
You think he's going to stop him?
Oh, yeah. Usyk may not have
a ton
of power. He may not have a ton of power, but he's going to rack up punches on you. It's going to be accumulation. And Briedis doesn't perform well versus southpaws. He himself admitted that. So this is a nightmare matchup for him, for Briedis.
No, that's a good point. I kind of see it. Briedis is such he's such a spoiler as a fighter with all of his grabbing, or the old slug and hug B-Hop type thing going on there without the skill and the dirty work of B-Hop. I don't know. I think Usyk could definitely stop him late, but I kind of see that one ending by decision, probably unanimous, or definitely unanimous for Usyk. I don't think that Briedis is going to give him much of a problem.
If it does go to decision, Briedis won't win more than 2 rounds.
Yeah, God. Just because I don't even know. I don't know how Briedis got his. Sometimes I wonder how he got seated, because the guy has nobody on his resume except for Marco, a faded and depleted or flattened Marco Hook. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Before that, his resume is thin.
Yeah, he has a belt though, so.
Right. Yeah, but remember, titles don't make the fighters make the titles.
Right.
Usually. But yeah, I think I was talking to Hamed from BDA show last night on Twitter. It may have been him, it may not have been. You'll have to remind me, Hamed, when you call in or ask a question. But I had no, it wasn't him. Sorry. Last night I was arguing with somebody else on Twitter because I said I can envision an Usyk Dorticos final. I can definitely see a scenario where Dorticos catches Gassiev with something really nasty.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a possibility.
I don't know. I don't know enough of Dorticos, or I haven't seen enough of him to say that he could beat Usyk or even Gassiev. But I have this hunch, man, that they're that wrecking ball's still swinging. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Do you think there's any chance of that?
I don't think Dorticos is actually going to get past Gassiev. Dorticos has the speed advantage there, but as far as boxing ability, I favor Gassiev. And against Usyk, if that fight does end up happening, he is just he's not even going to have the speed advantage there. Usyk is going to just tool him. That's going to be a decision, though. It's going to be a 12-round decision if Usyk gets his hands on him.
Yeah, I could definitely see Usyk just kind of bouncing around, or staying out of range and pot-shotting him. But I think the most interesting final we could get is Gassiev and Usyk. I think that would be kind of awesome.
It would.
I don't think we've ever seen Usyk in, or he's ever been in, against anyone that hits like Gassiev or that can kind of control range like that. You know what I mean? And cut off the ring.
He hasn't. Well, we haven't seen it in his pro career. He's probably seen something like that in the. Oh my God, those Russian fights, the World Boxing. Oh God.
The local thing.
Yeah, it's something where it's basically like amateur fights, but kind of not. It's weird. It's the same thing that Daniel Panchenko was like the champion for like 2 seasons or whatever, and only lost 1 fight out of 24.
Oh, it's kind of like the American Contender Series.
Yeah, kind of like that. I forgot the name of it though.
I hate those series. They're usually, and Usyk's not a mediocre fighter, but like who did we get out of the Contender Series? We got Sergio Mora, and I can't remember the other guys' names that came out of that. They were just like B and C level guys, and then they made names for themselves on a really kind of convoluted show, and then got pushed on everybody. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if Usyk can handle the measured pressure and that controlled aggression of Gassiev. So I think I think it's a much better fight than a Usyk Dorticos fight.
Yeah, and then Usyk is also an Olympic gold medalist too, so he has probably ran into something like Gassiev before at some point.
Right. Okay. Well, did you have anything else to add to the?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Usyk fights a lot like a cruiserweight version of Lomachenko, and Gassiev fights a lot like a cruiserweight Golovkin. Neither one of them is exactly as good as them, but it's interesting to me how similar they are.
No,
I think Gassiev is missing. Gassiev is missing a lot of the nuances that Golovkin has. I've never seen Gassiev shift. I've never seen him turn over his punches into something entirely different. Look like it's going to be a hook to the body, ends up being an overhand right or something stupid like that. I've never seen him do that, but just as far as how they control the range, it's a lot the same. A lot of similarities there.
Well, now it makes me. I know that him and Golovkin are good friends or close friends, and that they work together a lot in the gym. But I'm wondering how much of those similarities are exist because they both work under Abel Sanchez, or they train with Abel Sanchez, and how much of it is because they're friends and that they work together and stuff like that.
Well, from every video I've seen, and just from people talking about the gym, Golovkin's the guy that's helping everybody very closely at that gym. So I think a lot of it just comes from Golovkin's basically training Gassiev. Right.
Well, though you had mentioned the similarities. The one thing I don't see Gassiev doing that Golovkin does is those right and left overhand hooks that Golovkin throws behind the guard.
Yeah.
That hit guys on the skull cap or just behind the temple.
Yeah.
I don't see those.
Those angles. I don't see those.
Yeah.
He doesn't have as good of a jab as Golovkin does, but really no one does except for maybe Kovalev.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I think I like Gassiev's footwork. It's reminiscent of Gennady's, but I don't think it's quite as good either.
Yeah, it isn't, but it's really good because he's able to conserve energy doing that. It's like these little subtle things he's doing, like small steps, nothing exaggerated there.
Right.
Which may help him against
really
Usyk,
quick,
though.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, the worst thing with fighting Usyk is that he will bait you into fighting his fight, too, and you're going to end up burning a lot of energy, and I don't think that's going to be a factor for Gassiev. I think Gassiev is going to be able to control that a little bit better than all of his other opponents. Like Hunter was doing well for the first 4 rounds and then got completely fucked up because he gassed because trying to fight Usyk's fight.
Right. No, that's a good point. That's yeah. No, Usyk, even though he's not as powerful as his record, kind of makes you think he is in terms of knocking people out and stuff. He's like you said, he very reminiscent of a larger version of Lomachenko. Just not quite on the same level. But I wanted to digress a second here. I have somebody tweeted us a question. This is from UK Boxing Live, and I'll let you answer first, Victor. He says, if you can choose a weight class to do a Super 8 tournament next, which division would you choose?
Light heavyweight, no question.
Okay.
I mean, if you did a tournament right now for light heavyweight, you would have, let's see, Kovalev, Vostok, Beterbiev, Bivol, Adonis Stevenson. Oh, God, I'm missing a lot of people. That's already 5, and that's already amazing. Those are fights that I can't even predict a winner for any of those. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't need more than those 5 right there, even though that's an odd number. That's exciting enough just to think about. But, yeah, UK Boxing Live, he says, in his opinion, probably he would pick light heavyweight, welterweight, and super bantamweight. Okay. Yeah, I think I would go with I definitely want to see one at 175 for the same reasons you just stated. I would love to see one at heavyweight, but even if Richard Schaefer and Sarland up the ante and I mean offered millions and millions and millions of dollars, I don't think Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder would ever partake in a tournament like that.
Same. And then for different reasons too.
Wilder,
Joshua brings so much money to the table that it probably won't make sense for him to do that. And Wilder, I think he's too protected to want to do that. So, and if you have a tournament like that in that division with neither one of those guys participating, it's not a point in doing it. That's not what people want to see. So,
right. Well, I want to see the heavyweight tournament just because hopefully it would make Joshua and Wilder collide at some point. But outside of those two guys in the division, I mean, who the hell's there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, Pavek and Ortiz, and that's about it.
Yeah,
Big
and both guys. Yeah. And I mean, they would be fun fights until, between the second and third tier guys. I think there would be some exciting fights or some pick'em fights. But I want the tournament, like I said, just because I want those, the two champions in the division to collide. But I don't know. Let me see. UK Boxing Live, he said light heavyweight, welterweight, and super bantamweight. Welterweight. Let's see. Who would we put in welterweight?
Sean Porter, Thurman,
Sean Porter,
Crawford.
Hopefully Terence Crawford would move up and participate. What about Gary Russell? Who? Who's that guy? I don't know. Jeff Horn would definitely have to be in there.
Oh yeah, dude. Sometimes when we have these conversations, I forget that he's even considered at the top because of his belt. I always forget about that.
Right. I mean, I would say throw Manny Pacquiao on there, but at this stage of his career, even if he was what he was in 2010, he's way too busy with everything else. He wouldn't do it. So excluding Pacquiao, it would be Horn. Let's see, Horn, Thurman, Spence, Gary Russell Jr., Sean Porter. There's 5. I don't know who we could round that out with.
Well, you could always throw in some lower tier guys. Well, not lower tier, but like Lamont Peterson and that one guy from Lithuania. I think he's from Lithuania. The Mean Machine, I think they call him. Let me look up his name for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy. He's on the come up. You could just have him there as number 8.
Yeah, I always forget his name. UK Boxing Live also adds, he's listening right now, he says he would add Crawford, Spence, Thurman, Garcia, Porter, Vargas, and Pacquiao. That's not a... Oh, and then Khan and Peterson to round it out. That's actually a really good tournament. That's fucking amazing tournament. Oh, my God. Now, let's see. Super bantamweight? Oh, God, off the top of my head, I really don't know who I would put in there. It's one of those things where I'd need to have a
list,
the pound for pound rankings for each division sitting in front of me on my PC to go, okay, that guy makes sense, this guy makes sense, this guy's trash, fuck this guy, he's out of here. But I don't know. I'm not sure. Now he also had one other question, Victor, and you can answer first again. He wants our take. He must not have heard the conversation at the beginning. He says he wants our take on Lemieux versus Saunders. He says, can Lemieux go 12 rounds and win a decision versus Saunders, or does Saunders have more of a chance of a KO than Lemieux winning on points?
Saunders is not going to stop
that was
Lemieux
a mouthful,
at
wasn't
all.
it?
That's never going to happen. And I think it's going to get stopped late by Lemieux, honestly. A lot of people are picking Lemieux by stoppage early or Saunders by decision.
Yeah.
I think either Lemieux is going to stop Saunders late just because Saunders can't keep up with Lemieux's pace, or Saunders is going to get dropped 2 or 3 times and go into full retreat and lose a decision.
Yeah, I think even before Saunders, before he ever gets dropped, if he survives the first heavy punch that lands, once he feels that power, like a lot of Golovkin opponents do, they start, they start going backwards, or they go into their shell, and they just try to survive. I think, to answer your question, UK boxing, I think Lemieux can definitely win on the cards, because I think en route to a 12-round decision, Lemieux would knock Saunders down at least once or twice. He'd make it very difficult for the judges to give Lemieux more than like 4 or 5 rounds at the most, Saunders more than 4 or 5 rounds at the most. And that's probably being generous too.
Yeah.
And then,
one
the
other
fight's
thing he happening in Canada too.
Right. Well, there's that. Yeah. So Lemieux will probably win on the cards whether he wins the fight or not. If recent history has been any indication of,
normally I'd have a problem with that, but Saunders got so many gifts before that I figure that's fair play at this point.
Right. That brings. I want to before we go on to the next thing, something I've been wanting to talk about with all of you guys for a long time. Not to get too political or anything about it, or to go all conspiracy theorist or like Teddy Atlas style on you guys. But when it comes to scoring or judging for boxing, would you guys agree with me that judges should not be, or promoters and networks should not be allowed to have any say in who the judges are, and that the judges should be from completely different countries and even like anonymous to promoters? You guys think that would be a good idea?
That would be a beautiful idea.
Like
the reason why these things don't happen though is because they want boxing to be corrupt. God, we argued about it on, or we all went crazy on BDA's show last week, about this kind of stuff, and after the Golovkin-Canelo fight. But I would love to see a scenario where the promoters and the networks don't know who the judges are until the night until they actually walk out to sit at their post, to sit down and do their job. And we shouldn't. Public wouldn't be able to know either. But I think, like in the case of, we'll use Lemieux Saunders as an example, hypothetical example. I would love to see like a Peruvian judge, a Russian judge, and then like a judge from like New Zealand or Hawaii or something like that. Like completely, nobody gets any kind of favoritism whatsoever. Because I know sometimes you'll see like, again, with Lemieux Saunders, you'll see an English judge, a Canadian judge, and then there'll be like one neutral guy that's like Italian or Greek or something like that. And then I don't like that either, because there's still that possibility of corruption or favoritism on one side or both. So I don't know. It's just something that had been mulling around in my head while I was trying to fall asleep the last few nights. And I thought, how cool would that be to have nobody know who the judges are going to be until they sit down and do their job. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea, but I think it's impractical because you don't have the problem with just able to get out who the judges are. It would always be out. There's no way that you'd be able to contain that. I think the best way to fix this without doing something like that would just be have more judges. Have it be 4 just judges, which sounds like an odd number. We're going to start off with 4 judges and then have the crowd have some sort of voting system in place where they can pick whoever wins the fight. And they serve as the 5th judge.
Oh, my God. That would be awesome. That would be so awesome. Like, I mean, going back again to the Triple G Canelo fight, I mean, I was in a movie theater full of Mexican fans, and they were all pro Canelo, But when those scores got read, everybody, including the people in the arena and in the theater I was sitting in, were booing the decision. They all knew their guy lost. You know what I mean? I would love to, kind of like, I don't want to date myself, but it kind of reminds me of like that old dating game show, Love Connection.
Yeah.
You have.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably have no idea what I'm talking about.
I have no idea, man.
That's like you were born in '93. This was like from 1982 to like '87 when I was like a teenager. It was Chuck Woolery. You know, the audience would pick who they thought the contestant on the show should go out with, and if the contestant pick matched the audience's pick, like the company or the show would pay for everything. Something like that, where, like you said, where the audience could, click 1 for Canelo, click 2 for Triple G, you know what I mean, and then put in your thing. But yeah, God, man, I don't know. Something's got to be done because the scoring's just fucked up. And now going back to Lemieux Saunders, because it's in Canada, Saunders, I think that makes it even more difficult for him to win, because even if he survives 12 rounds, I can't see Lemieux ever winning any kind of decision.
Yeah, Saunders isn't going to be able to do his usual thing of like barely winning a round or doing just enough to win. He's going to have to win convincingly to get the nod for a lot of these rounds. I imagine.
Right. I think he would actually. He would have to put like Lemieux like on Queer Street. He'd have to wobble him really good, more than a couple of times. So to answer your question again, UK boxing, the decision, since the fight's going to be in Canada, is definitely going to go for Lemieux if it goes to the cards. But Victor's picking a late stoppage for Lemieux. I'm picking an early stoppage, probably around round 4. And then one other thing here, he added to his first question. He said not super bantamweight. He meant featherweight.
Oh, okay.
For a tournament. Yeah, that's what I said when I saw that. Oh, that's better. God, that's a good question, because again, it's one of those things where I have to look at all the names. You know what I mean?
No, it has a good one. Santa Cruz, Abner Mares, Carl Frampton. You also got Oscar Valdez, who people really like.
See, but those guys won't fight each other now. And they're all fucking inactive, man. They fight a total can, and then they disappear for 18 months, and then they come back and, I need a tune-up. Well, no shit, Sherlock. You know what I mean? What the fuck? If I don't play, I play racquetball like anywhere from 3 to 6 days a week. If I take like a month off, my game is going to be shitty when I go back in, and everything's going to hurt. You know what I mean? But that excuse only works for so long when when you take break after break after break and you're not doing anything and you're inactive. I mean, that just sucks, man. Now the only thing, I think that tournament with some of those guys could be made because Richard Schaefer and Al Heyman have a working relationship, at least behind the scenes. I know that it's not like out in the open like it used to be, but I'm sure they're still associated in one way or another. You know what I mean? I'm sure they still speak to each other and stuff. Mares, Santa Cruz, Frampton. Who I'd be afraid would be put in that tournament is Scott Quigg. Guys like that, I know there's some questionable talent in the super middleweight tournament right now, but it's nowhere near as bad as guys like Quigg and let's see who else is in there. God, I would hate to see that, because those tournaments, even the super middleweight one, it's pretty exciting because you can follow the storyline and the drama, and you can go, I wonder what happens if this guy beats this guy, and then they fight, and so on and so on. But featherweight, let me see. Let me pull up the rankings there real quick. Let's see. We got Santa Cruz, Frampton, Mares, Oscar Valdez. He could be in there. Oh, Gary Russell Jr. is at featherweight. I for some reason I kept thinking he was at welterweight.
I was wondering why you didn't mention. I was like, why do you want him to come up all the way to welterweight?
Yeah. No, dude. I'm so fucking flustered from the technical difficulties that I was having before we came on the air. I'm kind of off my game. I told my wife I said I'm so pissed off.
I thought you were making a joke about him being so tall that he can make welterweight.
No. No. That was just my error. It just fucked up. Let me see here. Let's see. We got, there's Santa Cruz. We could put Frampton in there, Mares, Oscar Valdez, Gary Russell Jr., if he even fights anymore, Lee Selby, Jesus Cuellar. What about Nonito Donaire?
Oh, yeah. Wait.
That guy's like so far off my radar. Like,
he doesn't fight at featherweight, does he?
Yeah. Let me see. Let me pull up. Dan Raphael over at ESPN has him ranked number 8 in that division.
Huh. Okay.
And then guess who's below Nonito Donaire on that list? Scott Quigg. Yeah, and then Jesus Rojas. So I think the top 3 or 4, maybe 5 guys might be interesting to watch. And maybe throw Donaire in there just as a consolation type of thing. It'd be an okay tournament. I really want to see the heavyweight tournament, the 175 tournament, and a tournament at 154. Which one?
Middleweight as well.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the dream, but like that one is so like absurdly like impossible. You know what I mean? Just because of the politics and what's happening right now with the top 2 guys. But like, what about 154, man? What about junior middleweight?
That'd be a good one.
I think that would be kind of awesome.
If that would ever happen, I'd favor at this point Jermell Charlo to win the tournament. Yep,
I would too. But the only downside to that tournament would be that Erislandy Louria would probably get seeded in it.
The finals.
Yeah, he'd probably not. See, that would be my fear. He'd be seeded number 2, and then it would be him and Charlo in the final. Like, I don't want to see that dude I don't want to see that dude on fucking Friday Night Fights, let alone in the finale of a tournament. You know what I mean? So, but that's about it as far as tournaments go. I'd love to see one in every division. Though,
about the World Boxing Super Series, they need to have an American television network. They're missing out on so much money by not doing it.
I agree. Well, I tweeted to Montero made a comment. Mike Montero made a comment last night on Twitter about the shitty card that HBO had on, and I tweeted at him. I replied to his tweet and said, "And HBO could have aired this, the World Boxing Super Series instead." And he agreed, and it's like. And I agree. I know there's a lot of politics and red tape at play that have kept it off the air, and I know that Steve Kim has said many times that no network wanted to commit to 8 weeks straight of boxing, which is, as a fan and as somebody who's passionate about the sport, I know my perspective is it's not really a business perspective, but because I'm a business owner as well, I kind of look at those decisions and go, what the fuck were you thinking? You know what I mean? Instead, you're airing, second-rate fighters in showcase fights that don't mean anything and don't really go anywhere. You know what I mean? And the talk on Twitter every week is, the World Boxing Super Series most of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like, I know that deal Schaefer made with the Audience Network on DirecTV, I think. But I'm a cord cutter. I haven't paid for TV since 2013, I think. Like, I get everything online. So it's like, and I know boxing is way behind the curve in terms of technology, but like, yeah, I agree. They definitely need a better TV deal moving forward, whether it's with the remainder of these 2 tournaments or what's left of them, and then any tournaments that pop up, in the future.
Actually, now that I think about it, why can't the World Boxing Super Series just host it on their website and just have you pay for it? Like, do a $10 a month subscription thing, and they have all the fights just uploaded there.
That's an excellent idea, dude. Make sure I tell Dick Schaefer when I call him later tonight. Sorry. I don't know. I think it's a really good idea. I kind of wondered that as well before like or not before, but right after they, said, oh, there's no TV deal, and they're going to stream it on the website, for certain territories. But then they made that deal with the Audience Network, and now people in the United States have to find a stream for it, which is not really inconvenient or hard to do. But I'd love to be able to watch it on HBO or on Showtime or even on ESPN,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that'd be a good. That would be a good, or find some way to subsidize it and get good sponsorships and let them pay for it. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I don't know how financially viable or successful these tournaments have been thus far, or how successful they'll end up being when it's all said and done. I think that's probably going to determine whether we get any more or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully it pans out because they're doing well or will do well because they're awesome. But like you said, without major network support, casuals aren't going to see it. It's just guys like us,
Yep.
that do shows and spend all day on Twitter talking boxing that are watching. But yeah. Now, really quick, there was one other fight last night.
The Murata fight versus Nadam.
Yeah, Nadam. Now, I only saw highlights because I wasn't really interested in the fight, and I didn't have time to watch it this morning, and I definitely didn't want to watch it last night after a long day. So, what's your take on that fight?
Dude, Murata beat Nadam like every second of that. There was not a single exchange that Nadam really won there. He lost every round. He lost on the outside, the inside. Murata, this is the first time Nadam's actually been stopped before. He got.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he put in the corner in the 7th round, heading into the 8th round. Honestly, he looked in worse shape after the Lemieux fight, but Nadam's a guy that's been in there with taking a lot of punishment too. In his fight with Lemieux, Quillen, the first Murata fight. I think there was another fight too where he got battered. If I recall correctly, the Kurt City fight was pretty punishing for him too. So he's a guy that's been through some shit. So that added stuff as well. But no, Murata looks very solid. In the first fight, he had problems just cutting off the ring. Now he's not great at it, but he's a little bit better at it. He's I don't want to call him basic, but a lot of people are going to call him basic because he's just a bare bones guy, but he's very effective with what he does. I think it'd be a problem for any middleweight right now.
So would you say like you said, simple but effective, like kind of like Kelly Pavlik was with the 1-2?
Not even like that. It's a little bit better than that, but yeah.
But kind of straightforward, just effective at what he does.
Yeah.
So you think he's you think he's a threat or a problem for anyone at middleweight?
Yes, anyone. And he needs to get bigger fights pretty soon though, because he's not a young guy. He's not old either, but he's certainly not young. This Nadam fight kind of set him back. Yeah. This fight kind of set him back a bit, actually, because he clearly won the first fight. This is a pointless rematch just to get the revenge, basically. But he needs to get in there with any of the top guys at middleweight and get a major title. What he has right now is a WBA title, but it's not really the real one. Golovkin has that one, so.
Now, who would you like to see? I don't know.
Because
I can't even keep track of. I can't even keep track of all the titles that are out there anymore.
Neither can I. But look, when the Golovkin and Jacobs fight was announced, the whole entire idea was to consolidate the belts. If Golovkin won, they were just going to get rid of Jacobs' belt, basically. Or if Jacobs won, he was going to have Golovkin's belt, and they were going to get rid of Jacobs' belt anyway. That's what was supposed to happen. And then immediately afterwards, they set up Murata versus Nadam for that belt. So what the fuck was the point?
Yeah. Yep. The point is money, dude. It's always follow the money every time. Now, who would you like to see Murata in against next? Ideally,
honestly, anybody. Jamal, Charlo. Well, Charlo has like better matchups that have like kind of a storyline to them, with Andrade or Canelo or even Golovkin. I think those are, or Jacobs. Jacobs is a good one as well. I think those matches are a little bit easier to make and they mean a little bit more. So that leaves Darian Vinchenko or the winner of Lemieux and Saunders, something like that
Right.
for Murata right now.
What do you think of about a possible Murata? Oh my God, I just forgot the guy's name. Wow.
Describe him a little bit.
The what?
Describe him a little bit. I'll tell you the name.
No, I was thinking about a spring fight for Murata against Danny Jacobs. Wow, I can't believe it. It's not a good Sunday for me.
Yeah, I think
like
he
in the
beats
spring
Jacobs.
because. Yeah, okay.
Very.
I was gonna say
very
Jacobs
confident he beats
might
Jacobs.
want to grab. Jacobs might want to grab that WBA title again. You know what I mean? So that he has some leverage. It might be worth the risk. I think that'd be an interesting fight.
It would, and also like you said, the WBA, so there is a connection there. So yeah, that's a good fight for him.
Okay, yeah. I think that's good. I'd love to see him in against Charlo, but I don't think that's going to happen at all.
Yeah.
And Andrade versus Murata, what do you think about that?
Andrade gets beaten up badly right now. Murata is a very, very, very elite fighter right now. The only guys that I would even favor over him are Golovkin, maybe Canelo. Derevyanchenko is like 50-50. I think he beats everyone else.
You think he beats Lemieux?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very confident that he beats Lemieux.
Huh.
I think that would be a great fight, though.
Oh, yeah.
I
would love to see all of those.
Yeah. We also need to see Murata to see how well he can take a punch, though. He doesn't seem to nothing seems to affect him when you hit him, though. That's the thing I've noticed with a lot of these Japanese fighters, though. It's like you can't hurt them.
No, yeah. But you know what? At some point, I mean, when the guys are young or when they're fresh and they haven't been in a lot of wars, that's usually the case. But like when you take punches like that, for 3, 4, 5 fights, that's especially at what is he? I said he's 31. At that age, that shit's gonna wear him down, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's gonna end like Alfredo Angulo was exciting. So was Antonio Margarito when they could take a shot and walk through it and keep coming to punish you. But once those guys like that lose the ability to take those punches, then it becomes less exciting and much more dangerous for them.
Yeah. Well, he has really good defense, so that's not really a worry of mine.
Right.
It's just that when he does happen to get his, like nothing even happens.
Right. Yeah. For now. Real quick, I want to head over to Twitter. I've got a question from Hamad. He says he's got 2 questions for us. Actually, he says, "What are your guys' thoughts on Joshua fighting Takam instead of Pulev, and who you guys got, Lomachenko or Rigo?" I'll let you go first.
All right. Well, it's actually about the same for Joshua. Takam versus Pulev. This not that much of a trade-off. This actually may be a tougher fight, but 2 weeks' notice, so Joshua has the advantage there. I think he's going to stop him pretty early, though, but I thought the same thing about Pulev, so I'm not too worried about that. For Lomachenko versus Rigo, I think Lomachenko is going to beat the shit out of Rigondeaux for a very long time. I think he's going to get stopped by the 8th round. Rigo's too small for this. Too small, too old. This is not. If he took the fight the first time it was offered to him when they were going to fight at like 126 or whatever, he would have a better chance because it was like, 2 years ago? He would have a better chance. He still would have lost, but Lomachenko wasn't as experienced. This is closer to Rigo's weight. It would have worked out better for him, but he wanted to wait, and now he got this one. And is it for less money?
I don't know. I honestly, and it's the only time I really know like what a fighter is going to earn is when it goes to purse bid, and then it gets disseminated throughout social media or the media in general, and so and so gets this, and the only thing I really pay attention to is who's fighting who and what fights do we want to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's going to be a one-sided beatdown.
Yeah. Now, before I give my picks on those, let me ask you, Victor, what do you think about the people that, and you know which group of people I'm talking about, that are, Rigo's going to school Lomachenko. Rigo's going to do this. He's one of the best fighters in the world, and blah blah blah. And
the
LDBC
LDBC
after
on
Lomachenko,
YouTube.
after Lomachenko stomps some Rigo ass, like for 12 rounds, and they start, they're going to come out of the gate. Well, Rigo was old. Rigo had a long layoff. Rigo had to come up two weight classes. He was too small. Even the tune will totally change. You and I both know that's coming. I mean, what do you say to people like that?
It's silly because they want it both ways. Like, you can't at one hand say one guy's going to dominate, and then when he gets stopped like that, you make excuses for them. You were the one that said he was going to dominate. Right. You have to stick to that.
Right. No, I agree. It's funny is because before the fight was made, and it was just kind of one of those fights that we all thought, oh, that would be a cool matchup, at least on paper. It was, Lomachenko's ducking Rigondeaux, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then the fight gets made, and, Rigo's going to school Lomachenko, and afterwards we know exactly what they're going to say,
One thing I want to say about this, though, a lot of people are criticizing Lomachenko for this fight even happening, saying that he's dragging a guy up 2 divisions. Rigo called him out on Twitter. This is Rigo's fault. You can't, no. I do not fault Lomachenko for this to happen at all. It's not like he's calling out Rigondeaux. If he did, that would be like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. Don't call him out. He's 2 divisions south of you. Don't do that. That's like you fighting fucking Terence Crawford or something like that at this point. But
right.
Nah, Rigo asked for this.
Yeah, and I agree with that. He did ask for it. But you know what I find ironic is nobody cares, and not that nobody cares, but there's very little talk or a criticism of Lomachenko pulling Rigondeaux up 2 weight classes, whereas when Golovkin fought Kell Brook, everyone, including Golovkin's fans, shit all over the fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was, oh my God, he's pulling a guy up from 2 divisions, and it's like, I don't mind outrage, but at least be consistent if you're going to be outraged. You know what I mean?
Well, I think one of the things with that, though, is that a lot of people have, for some reason, been asking for the Lomachenko and Rigo fight for a while. That was not true about the Kell Brook one at all. Like, nobody asked for that.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point. Good point. As far as my picks go on those, I agree 100% with you on the Joshua Takam or Takam fight. I don't think Takam is too much different than Pulev would have been in terms of skill or ability or even chances against Joshua. I think I know it's still early, but I think Joshua was like on that next level or that elite level of the sport. And
he's getting
Pulev
better too.
And yeah, exactly. And he's still kind of a young guy, so it's. I think Takam probably gets stopped in 3 or 4 rounds, but I think he'll make it interesting because he's going to come to fight. He's not a super aggressive guy, but the guy's not somebody that's gonna spend time on his back foot, moving away and shelling up and trying to move a lot. He's going to try to make a fight of it, so he'll probably go out on his shield, which is admirable. Now, as far as the Lomachenko-Rigo fight, again, I think Lomachenko's he may not school Rigo. I think he's going to beat the living shit out of Rigo just in terms of or by way of work rate. Rigo's work rate is so fucking low. And that's what kills me about Rigondeaux. I see the skill there like all of his fans and his supporters do, but holy shit, the guy's boring, not because he's not skilled, but because he doesn't fucking do anything when he's in there.
Right.
And the 5 punches he throws around. I'll go ahead.
The best thing about Rigondeaux are his counters as far as his offense, but Lomachenko, he has a lot of false openings. He'll make himself look like he's open to a certain thing and then punish you for reacting to that. That's going to be a huge factor in this fight.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. And I also think not just the work rate, but Lomachenko's much, much fresher, a lot younger, and he's much, much faster than Rigondeaux. Like in terms of movement and working angles and, and his accuracy. I mean, that shit is like spot on, man. I think even down, at 126, I don't think Rigo had much of a chance even 2 years ago. I think it was a better fight than it is now, but or more interesting. But I definitely think Lomachenko walks away with it, man.
Yep.
Like hands down. I'm not like super pumped about the fight because I don't like Rigondeaux. I don't like watching the guy against anybody. But it will be fun to watch him get beat just because I can't stand the guy. So and I told Mike Montero that last night on Twitter too, when Jezreel Corrales got stopped by Machado. Like I have my like pet peeves in boxing, like I'm sure every fan does or every person in the media does. One of my biggest one though is I can't stand guys that can't punch. I don't care how skilled or unskilled they are. If they can't fucking punch through a wet paper bag, like I want to see him get knocked the fuck out. I don't ever want to see him on TV again. So like when Corrales went down last night, like I was all in on that. You know what I mean? And it's like same thing with Rigo. Like I know he's got some power when he actually does something with it, but man, I want Lomachenko to get that fucking guy out of there because if he knocks Rigondeaux out, we probably won't ever have to see him again or hear about him again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You agree?
What does he do after he gets beat by Lomachenko? Something that does happen the way I think is going to happen.
He's old enough for like his AARP card by now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's like 30.
the guy's like 48, man. But yeah, I don't know. It is a good question. I think he probably retires or goes away, or he probably fights like those like untelevised, you know what I mean, fights that nobody pays attention to when you're sitting there live watching at the arena. So let's see. We had. What was it you mentioned last night? I'm looking at our notes. It was the first note I took. Ironically, it was the first note that I made last night when I was prepping for the show today. You said Max Kellerman. Max Kellerman claims Terence Crawford is the best fighter in the world.
King. Yeah, he called him the pound-for-pound king, mainly because of his mean streak, and he's really good at switch hitting, and he dominates everyone.
Boy.
I mean, look, respect to Crawford for becoming undisputed at 140, but 140 was arguably the weakest division in boxing at the time he did that, and he beat Ndongo, who's a guy that's not even actually a B-level opponent, to do so. It's not as impressive as it sounds. It sounds great, but it's nothing that makes me want to call you pound for pound number one. I mean, Golovkin beat Canelo. He may not have gotten the decision, but he beat Canelo. That's the best win anybody has right now in boxing as far as a fighter that's still fighting, you know. Unless you want to argue that Kovalev beat Ward the first time and the second fight doesn't count. Unless you make that argument, Golovkin is pound for pound number one, just based off of what he's done. He's dominated everybody. He's the king of his division. He is pound for pound number one. I don't care what argument you try to make against it. He is number one. You can't go against that.
Right. No,
Crawford,
I agree with that.
He is
completely.
number 2 or 3. I'll go with that, 2 or 3. But
you could make an argument for that for sure. Yeah, I know. I didn't watch I had to catch the fights on YouTube because all the streams for the HBO fights were down or were taken down last night, and there was a bunch of chaos happening in my house, so I didn't have time to go on the hunt for another feed. But I didn't hear anything that Max had said. But I'm not. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, you know, how many? We've talked about Kellerman on BDA's show. We did it on last week's episode of this podcast, and we do it all. Everybody does it all the time on Twitter. So it's, you know, it's kind of par for the course, man. But it just, when you told me that last night, I kind of doubled over. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like I think I have Crawford. I'd probably put him anywhere between like 4 and 6 on my pound for pound list, like unofficial pound for pound list. He's definitely one of the best fighters in the world, but he's not Golovkin. He's not. I don't even know if he's. I hate to say it because he's looked bad in his last 2 outings, but on Kovalev's level, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that level of skill where it's being practiced at the highest level. I don't think Crawford's faced anybody that brings that out of him yet.
And that's another thing with Crawford. We don't know what his ceiling is, for one thing.
Right.
We're gonna find this out when he starts fighting at welterweight against like Thurman. Thurman doesn't seem like he wants that fight though. Thurman kind of.
Dude. I don't mean to interrupt, but Thurman doesn't want to fucking fight. Period. Let alone fight anybody dangerous.
Right, man.
I mean that bullshit.
At first, when the fucking Porter fight happened, I was like, oh, I think Thurman lost, but at least he fought Porter. Porter's a tough guy, and Porter might be a terrible matchup for Thurman. That's probably his worst or second worst matchup in the entire division. And then after that, it's just nothing I like, man. I didn't like the way he fought in the Danny Garcia fight. I don't like that he's just... Seems like he's avoiding Spence, too. I don't like this. Thurman used to be a guy that I used to like a lot, and I'm not liking this.
Right. No, well, before we continue talking about Keith Thurman, if you're listening and you want to call in to talk to Victor and I about anything boxing related, you can do so by calling 657-383-0391. Now, getting back to Keith Thurman, I agree with you. How about that bullshit interview Showtime had with him last weekend? What did you think of that?
Oh,
man. When are you coming back? Is it Brian Custer? When are you coming back, champ? And who are you going to fight? Spence is sitting right next to that dude. And, you can tell Spence wants to fight. And what was it? With his lisp and all. You know, I'm a married man now, and I'm 29. I'm getting old, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? You should have had at his age, he should. Oh my God, I don't even know where to go with this conversation. I'm so
Keith
frustrated.
Thurman, one time a year.
Yeah, yeah. One time a year, or once upon a time, like when you used to fight. I mean, holy shit, the guy spends more time playing his flute and smoking than he does fighting, you know? He's, I'm married, and we're talking about kids, and great, dude, I'm happy for you, but fuck, dude, I'm here to watch you fight. I don't care who you married or whether you got kids or not. You know what I mean? So, I think he's obviously, Thurman's going to come back against very soft opposition. Yeah. And he'll walk away looking good, whether it's a knockout or not. And everyone, unified. He's a unified champion. You know, and when things change when Crawford steps into the mix. Even though those fights between Crawford and everybody else at 147 won't happen. But right now, Spence is like the guy in the division, at least in my opinion. Like nobody's better than him. Fuck the belts, and belts are important, and I like them, but in this case, fuck the belts, because Spence has it's more credible to call Spence the welterweight champion of the world than it is Keith Thurman. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's not to say that I don't have gripes about Spence and his bullshit inactivity either, but God, I know that Brian Custer was trying to get Keith Thurman to answer the question of when are you going to fight Errol Spence? When are you going to fight this guy? And it's like, I don't know, maybe in 2018 might be a little too soon. Whatever it is he said. Right. Fuck, dude. And I tweeted out later. 2018, 2019, 2020. It's not ever happening. You know what I mean? It's not happening at all. There's no way. And I'll tell you why. It's not just that he'll avoid Spence, but fuck, dude, he's going to get beat by somebody else before Spence gets the opportunity to fight Thurman. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you agree with that? I mean, Thurman's had some shaky moments against fighters that are nowhere near as good as Errol Spence. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if you can actually score the Garcia fight as a draw, because Thurman just gave up the last 3 rounds, and out of the other 9 rounds you have left, you could really argue that Garcia won 3 of those, and that's pretty fucking bad. Yeah, oh, there's another overrated fighter, but I don't know. I'm probably in the minority. It sounds like I'm angry with Thurman. I'm just angry with, like, I get frustrated by the inactivity.
I'm angry with Thurman because I know how good he could be, and it frustrates me to see a fighter with that talent to just not use it, you know?
Right. Well, yeah, it's for and what also frustrates me is, it goes in conjunction, or it comes along as part of the inactivity package with these guys, especially Thurman, but it's like this career, like these PBC guys, their careers have to be rehabilitated every time they come back because they've been gone for so long. You know what I mean? You have to hear about why they're important again. They get a tune-up, and then they talk, well, when I come back later in the year, and this is in February or March, they're talking like that, and it's like, oh, fuck, dude. You're 28 years old. You should be fighting every 3 months at least.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, that shit frustrates the hell out of me. It's, shit or get off the pot, man. I want to see, I watch boxing, I mean, obviously for the violence and the fighting, but like, and the skill too, but like, it holds my interest because of the storylines and the drama. But when you take, when there's an injury, I understand, but when you electively take 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, or 18 months off, it's like, I don't care if you're, you're Mike Tyson, I lose interest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, your career isn't moving forward. It's not even going sideways. It's just stagnant. So, I don't think Thurman will ever fight Spence. And he'll even if there was no politics, keeping it from happening, I don't think he would ever get in the ring with Crawford. He'll keep fighting the Danny Garcias.
He's the same guy that was talking about, like, Crawford used to do something to deserve to fight me. I'm like, bro, he's the fucking undisputed champion at 140. Like, he has more. He's more credible than you right now.
Right, exactly.
Literally ranked higher than you on every single pound for pound list I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, have you seen those lists where those people are, and it's not even the people of a certain demographic that are putting Thurman in their pound for pound list. I've seen credible networks put this guy like near the top of pound for pound list, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me?
You could argue that he should be there. I mean, he's a unified champion. Danny Garcia was undefeated. He didn't deserve to be undefeated, but he was. He won that fight, 2 belts, and welterweight is considered to be one of the top divisions. So a lot of people have him at like number 6 or whatever, and I don't argue with that. I mean, I don't anymore, but if you want to put him there, that's fine.
I guess you could make a case for putting him in like somewhere in the bottom half of that list, but like what I'm talking about is I've seen it on networks all over the internet where he's number 3, number 2, number 4, and it's like,
wait, what?
I mean,
that high?
Yeah, it's like I should have taken a link down so I had an example to give you before the show started, but I look at it and it's like I do a double take and it's like this guy doesn't even fight. It's like, for me, one of the prerequisites for appearing on my pound for pound list is actually being an active fighter, a full-time fighter, not a part-time or semi-retired fighter. I mean, that's another reason I never had Andre Ward on any of my pound for pound lists or best fighter in the world lists, because I mean the guy, he'd show up, do a good job against the tomato can or some grossly overmatched opponent, and then he disappears for 2 more years while he does other stuff. And it's like, same with Rigondeaux. These guys, pound for pound. Rigondeaux, pound for pound shit, man. It's like, you've got to get in there and do your job before you could be rated. I don't understand that line of thinking. Even with Thurman. Now, I guess, like I said, you could make an argument for him being in the second half of the list somewhere, but I don't even. Maybe it's maybe 9 or 10 on my list. Like, and I'm just kind of going off the top of my head.
Yeah, I've never actually sat back and tried to make a list.
I mean, like for me, my list is like, it's always just kind of in my head, and it's the top 3 or 4 guys where it's like, okay, do they fight a lot? Are they winning a lot? How are they winning?
Mm-hmm.
Who's avoiding them? Are they chasing these guys? So it's all, for me right now, it's like Golovkin, Canelo's up there, Crawford's definitely up there. and that's just, like the top 3 off the top of my head. Lomachenko's up there. I might put Anthony Joshua somewhere near the bottom of the list just because of the Klitschko fight. He showed us he's got a second and third gear or another level, but beyond that, I don't really think too much about it because it's like top 10. The top 3 or 4 are really all that matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then moving on to the next note, I actually wanted to talk about Danny Jacobs. I think you and I were talking about him last night before we both signed off. You were talking about Arias or Arias.
Yeah,
the
Arias.
match against those two are having.
Yeah, it's going to be a tougher match.
It's
going to be a tougher match than people are expecting. People think that Danny Jacobs is going to run through him. He's not going to be able to do that. He's probably going to go to decision against him.
You think so?
Yeah. I actually don't think Jacobs hits as hard as people think that he does because they look at the KO ratio he has. Yeah, and that to the Quillen fight. A lot of Danny Jacobs' opponents that he's knocked out have been knocked out like 5 times prior to Jacobs even fighting them. And we're usually on a losing streak, too. So he's supposed to stop those guys. The guy that wasn't in that position was like Caleb Truex, I want to say. And Truex isn't a good fighter. And it didn't go to decision, but he stopped him pretty late, and he didn't look great doing it. I think this fight is going to look like the Truex fight, only worse for Jacobs because Luis is better than Caleb Truex.
Now, do you think Luis could actually catch him with something? I know he doesn't have a lot of pop, but Danny's got that. I mean, Danny was dropped against Sergio Mora. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, he could actually catch him with something. Arias, he hits harder than his record makes it seem like he does. He's a lot like Gassiev in that sense. I'm not saying he's nearly as strong as him or anything like that, but it's in the sense where his power isn't reflective of his knockout ratio. He has solid pop there.
Okay.
This is a better matchup than people think that it's going to be. This is a better matchup than the Andy Lee fight they were talking about happening. If Andy Lee fought Jacobs, that would be not nearly as competitive as this one is going to be, if I'm right about this.
I think you might be onto something there. I don't think Danny walks through Luis. I don't think it's a kind of the throwaway fight that some people are making it out to be. He definitely could have been put in softer, had they wanted to go that route. I think Danny probably gets to him late and maybe stops him in 10 or 11. I agree with you. I don't think Jacobs hits as hard as his record indicates, or some people would like us to believe. I think that has to do more with his quality of opposition than it does actual power. But I think, and I know Luis probably, like you said, probably hits a little bit harder than his record indicates as well. But without good power to keep Jacobs off of him, it makes me wonder if it won't be kind of like, what's a good example? God, I'm having all kinds of memory lapses today. I guess I can use last night's fight, the Gassiev fight. Krzysztof didn't have the power to keep Gassiev from coming forward, to make him respect him, and to make him tentative. So it makes me wonder if it's going to kind of play out like that, where Jacobs just kind of gets to him and kind of pot shots him a little bit, and then once he connects with something big, if Luis doesn't start backing up or kind of shell up.
I doubt that, because if Jacobs does do that shit, he has a habit of getting very wild in there, and he get caught by something himself and get dropped. Even though he went 12 to Golovkin, I still am not too sold on his chin, because I'm always going to be thinking about the Korobov fight where he got knocked out. Stopped by Korobov in the amateurs and knocked out by Pirog in the pros. And those guys are not what you would call hard punchers.
Right. Yeah. 1 second. I've got a couple of messages here from Twitter that I want to go over with you. Hang on. I'm having Hamed. Hamed is sending me messages saying my low place wants to call in.
Oh, sure.
I gave him the number. Hopefully, he'll be able to call in because not that we don't have plenty of stuff to talk about, but oh my God, those conversations are quite entertaining. If anybody listening, listen to. I think he's even when he's completely absurd and wrong, and demonstrably wrong, like he's entertaining. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're listening, my low place, give us a call. I sent you the number, but in case you didn't get it, it's 657-383-0391. You can call in any time, man. We've got about 29 minutes left in the show, so anybody can call. And we can talk about anything boxing related. But back to Danny and Luis Arias. Yeah, I have a hard time envisioning Arias winning. I think he may give Danny some fits because I think Dan, a lot of people call Danny the second or third best middleweight in the world. I've never kind of bought into that or drank that Kool-Aid. I think he's very good, but I don't think he's the elite fighter that people sell him as.
Yeah, he could be. I mean, I don't have him that high because I just go by results, and so far, he's never really beaten an elite middleweight. His best actual win is against Quillen, and I didn't consider Quillen that good. And you could also argue early stoppage there. So he's
Well, I'm looking at the Danny Jacobs BoxRec page. Golovkin, Sergio Mora, Peter Quillen, Sergio Mora, Caleb Truax, Jared Fletcher, Milton Nunez, Giovanni Lorenzo, Keenan Collins, Chris Fitzpatrick, Josh Luterin, and then when you get down to Robert Kluwer, you get down to a record that says 11-12. And then even when we go up to Milton Nunez, which was just going back to March of 2014, that guy was 26-9.
There's a lot of names like that.
Yeah, and I know everybody says trust your eyes or and I do. The eye test is very valuable to somebody who watches the sport, and I see talent in Danny or in his game, but I don't see the same kind of talent or skill that like a Golovkin has or even a Canelo has. I think Canelo beats Danny Jacobs pretty handily. I know a lot of people probably disagree with me on that, but I don't think Jacobs is all he's cracked up to be.
Canelo is a guy that I think, although he's very skilled, he has a couple of bad matchups because he has a big problem dealing with the guys that have above average movement. And Danny Jacobs has that. Yeah, he does have that. But I also see, Danny isn't as aggressive as he is with guys like, or guys like Golovkin. And I don't think he would be that way I think he would fight Canelo the same way he fought Golovkin, just because there's some power there and there's some ability there. Now, when Jacobs has been in against guys that he knows he's supposed to beat, even like Quillen, he comes out super aggressive. Even though he's very sloppy and leaves himself wide open. I think against Canelo, Jacobs would probably kind of try to move a lot and go backwards like he did against Golovkin. What do you think? Yeah, that's how I see that fight playing out. I think they have more success.
That's what. Yeah, I do too. I mean, he's Oops, hang on a second. Let's see. Okay, so we're talking Danny Jacobs, and I'm trying to get a couple of people are having a difficult time calling in. Let's see. I'm telling Low Place, just use your phone. And let's see if he calls in. He wants to know what my Skype is or what your Skype is. I said we're not using Skype. Danny Jacobs, he's a good fighter. Out of 10, I would probably rate him like a 7.5 or an 8. I don't hold him in the same regard as a lot of other people do. But just like you said, it's because of not so much because of what I see, but because of who he's been up against and who the way he's consistently matched.
Yeah.
The Golovkin fight being the only exception, and we saw how that turned out. So,
To be
But
fair,
let's
though,
see.
he did better than everyone thought he was going to do in that fight.
No. And that's true. I thought Golovkin was going to run that guy over, man, in like 4 or 5 rounds and just get him out of there. Like, I was actually impressed with Danny in that fight. Before that fight, I thought Jacobs is just like Quillen, like he's a B- fighter. You know, doesn't fight a lot, doesn't take the sport very seriously, but he showed like that he's got some game. You know what I mean? It's just not enough. I mean, Golovkin's like on another level. He's at that top elite level, or he was at the time. You know, so Danny Jacobs versus Arias. You think you're picking Arias or Jacobs by decision?
Yeah.
Okay, and I've got Jacobs by KO when that eventually goes down. So we'll see what happens there.
Also, a big reason I'm picking Jacobs by decision is not just his skill, but because this is Arias' first big fight, and that is always a factor to me.
Yeah, that's true. That does change things a bit. But that could also make it an easier fight for Danny as well.
Yeah, no, it's going to make it an easier fight for him.
Yeah. Now, the next thing on our news and notes page, and we kind of talked about it earlier, the Anthony Joshua, a potential Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder fight. Do you ever see that fight happening? Or is that in the same fantasy universe as Spence Thurman?
I think it's going to happen eventually because, I mean, that's the biggest thing that Wilder can get by a wide margin. He's just demanding things right now that he has no right to demand. I saw one article they were saying, like, he wants a 50-50 split. I'm like, bro, no. You don't get a 50-50 split. Joshua
I saw something about that. That's fucking nuts.
Joshua probably brings in the most money in all of boxing right now. So.
Well, yeah, and I know we've seen God, he sold what did they sell out 70,000 people to see him fight Pulev or Takam?
Yeah,
like, he doesn't even have to fight anybody to be a fucking draw.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's all him.
He's the fight. It's not the fight that sells; the fighter's selling. But I wanted to make sure we talked about that potential matchup today, just because it's obviously one that we all want to see.
And Wilder gets knocked the fuck out if that fight happens.
Now, do you think that knockout happens early or quickly?
Probably early. Probably like the 5 or 6th round. It's not going to take Joshua that long. Wilder is the same guy that's getting outboxed by Washington.
Until that punch came. The end of that fight, Wilder looked like he was going to eat shit on the cards, man.
And even then, he's fucking windmilling, like jumping in the fucking air and shit.
Yeah.
Down his throat.
Now, what was it? I know Eddie Hearn and Al Heyman have a pretty good working relationship, or did at one point. So there shouldn't be any political obstacles to making that fight. I think the only obstacle is going to be Wilder and his team. You know, now, how do you feel? I'll let you know how I feel, and then you can answer. I think, just from a skill versus skill standpoint, I think it's a really risky proposition to let this fight marinate. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, it is, because Wilder has a suspect chin, poor technique, bad defense. Just he could get stopped by any fucking body, and that's why he's matched up so lightly. So you need to make this fight happen as soon as you can, because once Wilder loses his belt or loses to anybody, this fight is gone. There's no need to have this fight anymore. He's done. So match this up as quickly as you can. Right, because I asked that question, and I agree with you, but I asked this question because I heard Wilder and some of his people saying, well, we want the fight to marinate. It needs to build up so that we need to have some, interim fights so that it can be bigger. And it's like, motherfucker, Joshua sells 70,000 fucking tickets, like I just said, fighting a guy that has like less than 1% chance to win when that fight happens. What is it, next week? And it's like, are you out of your fucking mind? And I know it's, like I said, like I've said many times on this show and on other people's shows, marination is just, God,
it's a way to avoid making a dangerous fight, especially when you know you've got a like a turd wrapped in a bow on your hands, like in Deontay Wilder, where he's not really good at all. I won't even say not that good. He's not good at all. He's a shitty fighter. But I wonder how long they can prolong this, because what did he say on that Showtime interview? Well, Wilder said, well, Joshua's not behaving or talking like he wants to fight. He's not saying the right things, and it's like, dude, he beat like one of the best heavyweight champions ever, and he knocked him the fuck out with an uppercut straight out of hell. And you're going to tell me he's not doing what he needs to do to, like you have to earn a fight with Deontay Wilder when you're Anthony Joshua?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Get the fuck out of here with that stuff.
As far as like setting up this fight, letting the fight marinate, making a storyline for it, Eddie Hearn is giving you the opportunity to do that, Wilder, because he's trying to get you to fight Dillian White, and you won't do that shit. So that's the build up to the fight. You somehow beat Dillian White, which I honestly don't even know if you can do that. That's the best setup possible for this fight.
Right. Yeah. Man, it's one of those, that's exactly why I brought it up. It's one of those things, going back to what we were talking earlier about Thurman, where we get angry or frustrated with these guys that take all this time off. I know Wilder was hurt, but it seems like he's always hurt, or
he's hurt. Have you seen him train?
No, I have not.
Oh, bro. His training is like asking for an injury. He does some shit. You know how he has poor technique in the ring? He has poor technique with weights. He does shit that... Oh, my God.
Well, didn't David Haye knock him down in the gym?
Yeah, in sparring, and they try to act like it wasn't Wilder or something like that.
Yeah, I know that the gym isn't the same as being in the ring with all the lights and all the pressure and everything on the line, but when people tell me, oh, it's totally different, I disagree to some degree, because before the Buster Douglas fight went down with Mike Tyson, there were the rumors came out that his sparring partner, and I forget the guy's name because it was so long ago, had dropped him, and there was no internet back then, so you just heard about it, in the paper and on the news, and now that footage is actually on YouTube, but it's like it turned out to be true. It was like, oh, Tyson looks bad in the gym. He got dropped by this guy, which should never happen, and things, this distraction and this and this and this and this, and then he got knocked the fuck out in the biggest sports upset of all time, after that training session. So, like, when people tell me, oh, David Haye knocked Deontay Wilder down in sparring, and I've never actually watched the video. I'll have to do that after the show, but like, that means something to me. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean everything to me, obviously, because, like I said, it's just the gym, it's just sparring, but there's something there. And with Wilder, I mean, like you said, he was losing to Gerald Washington before he landed that lucky punch. And I mean, how many other times have we seen, him either fight timidly when there's a threat, or, have trouble? He's been, who was the guy? Didn't he get dropped in his professional career once? Or
Dustin
he was wobbled?
Nichols dropped him.
Yeah, that's right. Dustin Nichols. I can never remember his name either. But he has these moments where, I mean, yeah, I know people that hear this are going to go, well, Joshua got knocked down too. Yeah, by Vladimir fucking Klitschko, one of the heaviest hitters, like, in the history of the division. You know what I mean? The guy could knock you out in one punch in any round. So, like, Joshua got up and knocked his opponent out after that too. If Wilder got knocked down by a punch like the same punch that knocked Joshua down, like, Wilder's going straight to the hospital. There's no getting up and continuing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just man, it just, let's see. Let me see if I can get Hamed's number here. Hamed wants us to call him. Let's see. Give me your number. But yeah, I don't think the fight ever happens.
I wonder if that would actually work, though, because he's in the UK. That may have a problem.
Yeah, that was the other thing I meant to ask too. Do you think Wilder's going to travel?
Oh yeah, no. He's
no.
Not gonna...
Oh yeah, no.
He doesn't want to go to the UK to fight Anthony Joshua. Well, maybe for the money, because I don't think he thinks he's going to win the fight himself. So he might do it just for the money. But he already said he wants a 50-50 split in the fight to happen in America, which is impossible. It's not impossible. There's no reason for that to happen. So he doesn't want to travel to the UK to fight Anthony Joshua. Or anybody else for that matter, I don't think.
No. Well, every when you're in Deontay Wilder, every fight is a potential loss, like waiting to happen. You know what I mean? And yeah, I was gonna say I don't think he's gonna travel either. But it's funny to watch somebody, and I know you and I both know, and I'm sure all of our listeners know that they'll play the diva role or the entitled role as a means to or as a way to avoid the fight. But it's funny to watch somebody like Deontay Wilder, who fights very infrequently and looks bad in most of his fights, and has questionable skills and a questionable chin. It's got to happen in America, and I want a 50-50 split. The fight's not big enough. Joshua's got to get in line. He's not behaving like he wants to fight. And like, come on, dude, really? Even like when Canelo was avoiding Golovkin those 2 years, I mean, even his excuses for not taking the Golovkin fight were fairly pathetic, but like they were nowhere near as absurd and stupid as Deontay Wilder's. You know what I mean? It's just like when I watch the guy, that Showtime interview, and then any time that I see him interviewed on YouTube, it's like, he's got to know that we know he's full of shit. You know what I mean? You're going live on the air and behaving like that, and then yelling "bomb squad" after the fucking he knocks out some guy that I could knock out. You know what I mean? And I'm a 44-year-old 5'6" cruiserweight. That's never had a fight in his life. It's just like, come on, dude. If you're gonna beat your chest, I don't understand. It's amusing, I guess, but it's also kind of irritating because I'm the type of boxing fan that wants to see big matches or the best fight the best when those fighters are at their best. And like you said a few minutes ago, there's always that chance that Wilder gets dropped and knocked out, and then of course he'll want the fight with Joshua then. But once Wilder's knocked out one time, all it takes is one time. His career will never be the same. Yeah, it's and part of me says, well, there's something going on behind the scenes like there was with Tom Loeffler and Eric Gomez at Golden Boy. While Canelo was avoiding Golovkin, they were working on making that fight happen for the majority of the time. We just didn't know, we weren't privy to it, but people on the inside knew and, couldn't talk about it. I kind of think that might be happening now.
For that one, there were a lot of signs that was already in the case of it happening, because you had Abel Sanchez always saying stuff like, "Oh, I'm pretty confident this fight's going to happen in September." He always said September too, which was odd. It's like, that's interesting that you're so confident now and you're picking this date. And then as soon as the Chavez Jr. and Canelo fight happened, they already had the posters announcing this shit. And you had Golovkin at some point saying that he wanted to fight Billy Joe Saunders in June, but then Canelo said that if he wants the Golovkin fight to happen, he's not going to take that fight in June, and then Golovkin didn't take that fight. So a lot of things indicated that fight was already just made, basically, by that point.
Right. So you don't think that's happening here with Joshua?
Nah, I'm not seeing any of those signs at all.
No, that's a good point. That's a very good point. I don't know. I want to see that fight in part because I want to see Wilder get knocked the hell out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I also want to see the division consolidated or unified. So, I don't know. I honestly don't think it ever happens. I think there'll be talk of it, and then once, like you said, I hate to repeat myself, but once, Wilder loses, even if he loses by decision, his career is pretty much over because that loss is going to come against somebody that, like, nobody has any respect for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, okay. Hamed's trying to call in. So he should be joining us shortly. Cool. While we're waiting on that, let's move on from... Yeah, we've only got 10 minutes left. If anybody wants to call in, they can certainly do so at 657-383-0391. Some of the callers today, our potential guests on our show, have told me privately that they're having trouble getting in via phone. So if that's the case and you want to talk to Victor and I, shoot me your email address on a private message through Twitter or Facebook, and I will send you a personal invite to join the show. But, yeah, let's move on because we're going to have to start wrapping it up. The Anthony Joshua fight is next week, and then the week after that we've got the Deontay Wilder Stavern fight. How do you see that going?
I don't even care. Wilder by knockout, but I just don't care.
Yeah, that was my next question. Do you actually care? Because I'm gonna watch because it's kind of my job to watch, and boxing even when it's bad, boxing for me is kind of like a train wreck or like that horrible car crash on the freeway while you're driving home from work, where you just got to slow down and look. You know what I mean? It's like, how bad is this going to be? I got to see. But I think I'm most excited about is Showtime's commentary, because you know that they're going to be pumping. They're going to pump Stavern up to be this huge threat, and when Wilder knocks him out early, it's going to be, we get to hear Paulie and Mauro Ranallo. You know, this is the greatest heavyweight champion. So it's going to be this. It's going to make HBO's commentary look respectable. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm expecting
so
Paulie to come in like it is, though, and talk about just the bad technique of Wilder and how that also adds excitement to his fights, because you never know if he's going to get knocked out by anybody or not. Right.
Well, it's funny I'm not a fan of Paulie. He drives me nuts. But when the guy's on his shit, he knows the stuff. You know what I mean? He's really good. But
Paulie's actually my favorite commentator right now.
Yeah, well, as long as it doesn't involve anything related to him, he seems to do okay. But when he calls people out and he's not acting out of self-interest. Yeah, I like Paulie on the mic too, but it'll just be interesting to see, because Showtime pushes that agenda really bad, and I think worse than HBO does theirs. But yeah, I don't. Outside of that, I mean, we know Wilder's probably going to knock Stavern out early, and I really don't give a shit either. It's a pretty shitty fight. Now next week too, we also have. Forgive me if I mispronounce this. Call Yaffe versus Sho Ishida. And that's a 12-rounder for the WBA junior bantamweight title. Do you care about that fight either?
I feel like I should care, but I don't. Right.
See, and that's the thing. It's funny how much boxing fans have in common when it comes to the sport. My note, you have my notes probably sitting in front of you. Underneath that fight, there's a bullet point that says, "I don't know anything about these fighters or this fight. Have to look into it." And I kind of don't care. But it's kind of sad, because to get to my point, most of us will watch a fight if there's a major title, in play or on the line, even if we're not familiar with the fighter that is holding it or challenging for it. But it's in one of this case, it's I've never heard of either one of these guys, and I watch boxing every day it's on, and I talk boxing every day, it never ends, and I've never heard of these guys.
I've heard of Cal Yafai, and I'm pretty sure Hamed has mentioned him before at some point. I think it was him.
Yeah, I'd have to ask him.
Oh, actually, Roman Gonzalez is talking about fighting that guy next.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, that's the fight he wants.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, now I know who he is. Okay. Okay, Hamed's trying to call in, or he said it's the link I sent him isn't working. Let's see. Okay, we only have
5
minutes?
Let's
see. We only have about 5 minutes left, Hamad. I'll try to get you in. You can still try to call in or get on the show. But Victor and I are going to start wrapping it up here in just a minute. Why don't we do this next week? For next week's show, I'll try to get you on as a second co-host, and that way you can join Victor and I on the air before we actually go live, and we can get all the bullshit sorted out. Because, as you guys probably are aware of by now, we started the show late because of my technical difficulties, and that's kind of fucked the whole show up for me. Okay, yeah, so Hamad says no worries, try it next week. You should be in bed anyways, Hamad. Isn't it like 11 or 12 over there where you're at right now in London?
It's probably later.
Yeah, I think they're 8 or 9 hours ahead of us. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, he said lots of technical difficulties. You preaching to the choir, brother. He said it's 9:30 over there. Not too late.
No, it's not as bad as I thought it was.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's not too bad. Now, as far as I don't think there were any other major fights next week outside of the Joshua fight. And so the week after that is the Deontay Wilder fight. We'll talk. Unfortunately, you and I will be talking more about that on next week's show and probably laughing about it. Hopefully next week the call situation can get worked out. I wanted Milo Place to call in. Your barber never called in, so you'll have to give him the third degree for that, man. Let's see. We've got just 4 minutes left. I guess we'll just wrap it up early. I'll just go through the particulars, and then we'll get everything sorted out for next week's show, so it's not so bumpy. If you want to follow either Victor or I on Twitter, you can do so by following me at splitdboxing.com, and Victor is at. Do you want to go ahead and give it to him, Victor?
At 757Vic.
Okay, and then the Split D Boxing Network is also on Patreon. You can find us there at patreon.com/splitdboxing. You can follow us on Facebook as well, or like us on Facebook as well at facebook.com/splitdboxing. And it looks like that will do it for this week's show, man. Unless you had anything else, Victor.
Well, yeah, sure. So we got 3 minutes.
Okay.
Let's see. There's a couple of good.
Sign off.
There's a couple of good boxing channels on YouTube that I suggest everyone should check out. Let's see. You got the Fight Journal on YouTube. That's one that I think everyone should follow right now. You also have BDA's podcast. That's a good one. The BDA. What does he actually call his?
His Twitter handle?
Oh, BDA Boxing. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one to follow on YouTube as well. That's about it for right now.
All right. Well, then we'll end it with just 2.5 minutes to go before that annoying Blog Talk warning blasts into our ears.
Yes.
So if you didn't get to call in this week, there's been a lot of technical issues with on my end, and it looks like on Blog Talk's end. So please try again next week and have your questions ready. So for my co-host Victor Atkinson, this is Scott Jarvis, and thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Box combo, please.
At Raising Cane's, we're all about quality. We mix cane sauce in our restaurants every day. And our chicken is hand-battered and cooked to order. Our Texas toast is grilled with just the right amount of butter and garlic. And our lemonade is always freshly squeezed.
Love in the window.
And why do we do all this? Because it makes a difference. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love.
Cane's is coming soon to Riverside at Magnolia and La Sierra.
Box combo, please.
At Raising Cane's, we're all about quality. We mix cane sauce in our restaurants every day. And our chicken is hand-battered and cooked to order. Our Texas toast is grilled with just the right amount of butter and garlic. And our lemonade is always freshly squeezed.
Love in the window.
And why do we do all this? Because it makes a difference. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love.
Cane's is coming soon to Riverside at Magnolia and La Sierra.